General meeting minutes of June the 17th, the regular open minutes of June the 17th, and the public hearing minutes, the first one, June the 17th, and the second public hearing minutes of June 17th. So could I please have a motion to, thank you, Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Bennett, all in favor, to adopt all of those. No business arising from prior minutes, and is there any introduction of late items? Good, thank you. So we need a motion to adopt the agenda as printed, please. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Bennett. So am I just going to look on this side?
It's up to you.
I looked over here and these hands were up. All in favor. Thank you. No delegations, and first up we have water matters, and that would be water councillors. Ms. Van Vienna.
Thank you. In 1989, the South Okanagan Lands Irrigation District was dissolved by the province. In doing so, an order in council was enacted by the minister establishing water councillor positions for the towns of Oliver and Osoyoos. Kuldeep Dhaliwal was elected by acclamation in 2018 for the position of water councillor for a 4-year term and was sworn into office on November 5th, 2018. After missing a couple of council meetings, Mr. Dhaliwal was provided a letter from the Director of Corporate Services dated January 15th, 2019, advising of his responsibility and duty to attend council meetings and providing the meeting dates. Section 125 of the Community Charter requires council members to attend meetings regularly. If a council member is absent from council meetings for a period of 60 consecutive days or 4 consecutive regularly scheduled council meetings, whichever is longer, they are disqualified from holding office. This information was also provided to Mr. Dhaliwal in the January 15th, 2019 letter. The last meeting Mr. Dhaliwal attended was on March 4th, 2019. Since water councillors only attend 1 meeting per month and regularly scheduled meetings are the first and third Monday of each month, the 4 meetings started to accumulate from the first regularly scheduled meeting thereafter, which was March 18th. Therefore, Mr. Dhaliwal has missed 4 regular scheduled meetings, being March 18th, April 15th, May 21st, and June 17th. He was provided a letter on June 17th, 2019 from the Director of Corporate Services disqualifying him from holding office of water councillor. Since there is still more than 3 years left in his term, the town must now hold a by-election for the position of water councillor. Further information on the by-election dates and appointment of chief and deputy chief election officers will be coming forward to the July 15th council meeting. Mr. Dhaliwal will be unable to be nominated for water councillor in the by-election pursuant to Section 81 of the Local Government Act, as he has been disqualified from office. In the meantime, discussions have taken place with the Ministry as to how the Rural Water District may be represented in the future. Order in Council 1870, which established the position of water councillor, was developed in 1989 and is outdated in every way, including reference to the Municipal Act, which we are now governed by the Community Charter and Local Government Act, and the election section is no longer in compliance with the Local Government Act. There are 5 options that can be considered by Council relative to the water councillor positions. 1. Request the Ministry review Order in Council 1870 and make amendments to it to align it with the Community Charter and Local Government Acts, which have been updated several times since 1989. This would include election information and a request to include a disqualification clause. In the review of the Order in Council, request the Ministry consider these positions appointed rather than elected to act as advisory body. This would remove the voting right at the table but leave representation for the Rural Water District. This option is currently awaiting more information from the Ministry as to its possibility. 3. Begin the process for district municipality. This would require incorporating Area A or only the areas serviced by the Rural Water District into the town boundaries. If the town took those sections into its boundaries, there would no longer be a need for water councillors. The province will not legislate those areas to come into the town boundaries, and therefore a referendum would have to be held. 4. Ask the Minister to amend Order in Council 1870 and allow the town to bill for water in the rural area without representation. This option is not preferred, as it is felt the users of the water system should have some representation at the table. 5. Approach the RUS and request they create a service area for water district users. This would be much the same as the Northwest Sector Sewer Service that is currently provided through an extraterritorial service bylaw. If the RDOS is in agreement, the town could approach the province to amend Order in Council 1870 as it relates to the town of Oceus to eliminate Oceus's need to continue with water councillors, and if approved, the town develop an extraterritorial service bylaw for water districts 8 and 9. In this scenario, the town would bill for water in the rural water district area, and the users in that area will have representation through the Area A Director. It is unknown as to how long the process will take, with RDOS and ministerial approvals being required. At this time, these options are being provided for council consideration and recommendation only. As stated previously, a by-election is still required. Any of these options will take a considerable amount of time and discussions with the ministry to put in place. Implications to the community: representation for water district users; organizationally, discussions with the province and RDOS and required documentation; no budget implications, no significant dates at this time; and sustainability, continuing to be the purveyor of water of rural water districts 8 and 9. Options: 1, that staff be directed to approach the province to amend Order in Council 1870 to make amendments to align it with the Community Charter and Local Government Acts to include updated election information and request to include a disqualification clause. 2, in the review of the Order in Council, request the Ministry consider the water representative positions to be appointed rather than elected to act as advisory body. 3, that staff be directed to begin the process to create district municipality by including the incorporation of water districts 8 and 9 and remaining RDOS Area A. 4, that staff be directed to ask the Minister to amend Order in Council 1870 to remove reference to the town of Oceus and allow the town to bill for water and the rural area without representation. Or 5, that staff send a letter to the RDOS asking them to consider creating a service area for water district users, and further that if the RDOS is in agreement, the staff approach the province with a request to amend Order in Council 1870 as it relates to the town of Oceus to eliminate Oceus's need to continue with water councillors and instead permit the town to offer the water district services through an extraterritorial service agreement with the RDOS. Staff recommend option 5. This option provides for representation through the RDOS Area A Director, yet streamlines the water district process. If Council is not in agreement with changing the water councillor positions, it should at the very least consider option 1, as Order in Council 1870 is in great need of updating.
Thank you very much. Council, anybody have anything to say on this issue? Councillor Rhodes.
Well, yeah, I got a lot to say about it, but maybe I'll just hold back some of it. I think I'm going to step right in and make a motion based on the staff recommended option number 5.
Thank you. Councillor King is seconding that motion. Now, did you want to speak to that, Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Not exactly sure what to say about this. It started off with the Mr. Dollywall situation, and I understand that the two situations are intimately related here. The RDOS service area request is probably the most appropriate way for us to go right now, because really at the end of the day we don't really have anything else that's satisfactory that'll get us to where we want to be with this. My preference always is and always has been the district municipality portion of it, but the level of frustration and the work and the cost of us having to go through that almost makes it unachievable at this point. So I think I would like to support number 5. I have no idea how the regional district will react to. It'd be very interesting to see what their answer is, but yeah, I think we need to move forward with this. I'll be speaking in favor of the motion, of course, and see what the response is from the regional district. It could be almost anything, right from totally radical responses to doing nothing about it and not even answering about it. So we'll see how that process plays out.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, we know that these kinds of things take a long time. So even by the time we would get a letter written to the regional district outlining what we would like them to consider, it could take considerable amount of time. In the meantime, do we need to hold a by-election?
Yes. So a report will come to the next council meeting giving you the dates of that by-election and the appointments of the chief and deputy chief election officers. And that, once the appointment is made to those positions, it has to be held within 80 days of that time period.
Okay, thank you.
So we'd be looking into September.
Good.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this? Go ahead, Councillor. Oh, can we ask Councillor
Absolutely.
Moreira first and then you? Good. Go ahead. You have to pull it forward to speak into it. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't support actually any of these here because, like I told council before, the rural area or water users want representation. So, that's all I have to say right now.
Is there anything that has not been put as an option that you
Well, actually,
would?
number one, if I totally understood it, I could support that one.
But there's the problem, as I understand it, is that this could take years.
For what?
To get to ask the province to amend the order in council. These things do not happen overnight. So my concern is we need to deal with this before, if we did go along with that, before we'd have to have something in place before this ever happened.
We have 3 years.
We have 3 years.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, but that means we'd have to have a by-election first, and then, and work on it.
Yes.
And, it could take that long. It might. Mr. Emenko?
And the rationale behind addressing this issue in this way right now relates very much to the timing and being more strategic. We don't know how long it's going to take for the regional district to respond to the request, and we don't know how long it would take to enact that type of option. We're looking for a solution that goes beyond the election period. Mm-hmm. So this is a 4-year kind of window and look as to what the options are, and so at least at this point in time, we can get some information on the regional district if council in fact approves this motion, and that'll be something else that we can take to the province in terms of the discussion. And again, if there is going to be a change prior to an election, there's got to be notices of motion or stuff like that, or it's probably a period of time, at least 6 months before the election, that this would have to be all in place. So it's a very kind of strategic approach to finding out what options are if council wants to explore those options. But for now, we're caught into the to continue with the by-election and the process as it sits now.
Thank you. Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, I understand the by-elections an absolute must. I guess with this number 5, though, when you talk about eliminating the needs of water councillors, does that sentence specifically have to be in this request?
Well, if you're not going to eliminate the water councillors, then you would just ask for the change to the order in council. Because that is what established the water councillors to begin with. So if you went with the extraterritorial service agreement, they would just remove the town of Oseas off of order in council 1870, and it would just be relative to the town of Oliver rather than including the town of Oseas. So that's what established water councillors, and if you don't want them if you go to an extraterritorial service agreement, you would not need them, so they'd have to amend that.
Okay, and I guess that's the part that's kind of this concern of having representation from those areas, and it sounds like you would be requesting someone in the RDOS to come to the meetings once in a while where they would know what's going on in those 8 and 9 areas. So could we in here be allowed to say we'd like to appoint representation? Or that's open to discussion and negotiation?
Well, under the extraterritorial service agreement, it would be the Area A director.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted to have some input from outside sources, we'd have to look at.
So
like from systems 8 and 9.
Appoint a couple of people if he chose to represent?
Yeah, we'd have to look at that in the whole process.
And I think that's sort of an area that needs to be looked at.
So this issue has come forward again in a slightly different version when we did the Northwest Sewer, correct? So is totally different?
Northwest Sewer was a different approach. The approach that would result would be potentially very much the same because we have an extraterritorial agreement, but there was no representation
Right.
prior to.
That's
which
the
is,
difference.
Which is the key element here. The
For
difference.
sure, but the regional district would know, because the town does deal with billing the people for the Northwest Sewer, but it's, okay, fair enough. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is it possible to do number 1 while we're doing number 5? We could be working on number 1 if it's 2 years, that's possibly that. If number 5 doesn't work,
Myers?
doing number 1, trying to.
Myers, is your mic on?
Yeah, he just talks.
I think he needs to pull, Myers, can you
better?
pull the mic forward this way so that you're speaking into it? There.
Is it possible they do like number 1 while we're working on number 5?
I would think that the ministry will want us to decide one way or the other, because if they're going to change order in council, Oliver is still under the order in council, even if we opt out of that or asked to be opt out of it. So I think they would want to have one way or the other. I don't think they would want to do both. I mean, I could ask them, but it's in all likelihood that they're going to want to change that order in council once.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Were you next? Councillor Rhodes, and then,
Thank you again, Mayor McCorduff. I think it's important to understand a couple of things. The regional district, in fact, is a conglomerate of service areas. They fit all kinds of needs in districts everywhere. They have a vast amount of experience of it. And at the end of the day, if this is successful and we go down this path, every water user will have representation. It will look different than it is now, and it will act different, but they will have equal representation, very similar to all the other dozens of service areas that the regional district has right now.
157.
Yeah, that's basically what my point is that's what the regional district is, in essence. And we're asking them to join this particular need in our area into something that exists and seems to work fairly well at this time. But I guess I'm disagreeing with Councillor Moraro, because there definitely will be representation, and pretty good, solid representation too, based on our history in that particular area lately.
So, Councillor King, you were next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I go back to my comment of putting a period at the end of the town of Osoyoos and eliminating that last sentence to see what type of response, if there's any interest to start to move forward with sort of more conversation.
I don't understand what you mean.
Which
Well,
one? Number
the
5?
Number 5, but
Yeah.
the period would end at the town of Osoyoos, period, and everything after that would come off the number 5 to see what type of response we get first, or is that part of having to do both?
Well, I think that's part of
The
the
rationale
process
behind
is that we would send a letter and we would see what their response is from the regional district. And again, if the motion fails, you have the ability to bring that option back.
Yeah, but here we're really telling them what we want to do. We're not asking them if what they might like to do.
Well, I think the rationale for us telling them what we'd like to do, and we may have a number of options we present, but is that they're not intimately involved in the delivery of service now, so they wouldn't be knowledgeable about.
But they would be possibly sending a representation. I know the gentleman's very busy. To come to another meeting could impact him not showing up anyway.
This part of my assumption is prior to them deciding as to whether or not they would want to be involved in this, we would have a lot of discussions about what the options are and implications, and maybe some options in terms of representations at the table, whether it would have to be the Area A director or the Area A director appoint somebody to the table. All those types of options have potential to be discussed.
Go ahead.
Thank you again. Just for clarity, if you ask for anything else, then you're not asking for a service area. You would be changing the process, and the level of governance would change from our council to the regional district and be managed through the regional district process, it's unlikely that we would have any input with that at all if it follows the same pattern as all the other service areas that exist now. I think is a fair statement. And one other thing I'd like to add is if this motion does pass, perhaps maybe at the beginning of the letter we could press for some urgency or priority with this through the regional district and really be very emphatic about moving us forward as rapidly as possible because of what's on our plate now with it. So.
Okay, is there anything else? Then we have a motion on the floor, moved and seconded. I'm going to ask for a vote on that. All in favor? Can I stop for a minute? And Councillor Moreira is part of the voting.
Yes.
So there are 6 of us voting on it. Okay. So all in favor of the motion of option number 5? Against? Thank you. That is carried. Thank you very much. And we will, this obviously is going to take some time, so we will go ahead with that. Thank you very much, Ms. Van Bienen. And next we have a zoning amendment bylaw report number 3 from Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So this report has been prepared in respect to the rezoning proposal for I'm going to make sure I get the address right, 11201 115th Street. So the applicant is proposing to sell the subject property to a prospective purchaser in order to establish a cannabis operation that is a production facility on the subject property, and the property is currently zoned M1 General Industrial. Section 4.8 of the zoning bylaw provides an opportunity for council to consider site-specific rezoning proposals to allow for the production of cannabis. So at the time that Section 4.8 was added to the zoning bylaw, the production of cannabis was limited to medical marijuana, and as such, our current zoning bylaw reflects that terminology. So as part of this rezoning proposal and in recognition that recreational cannabis production is now also legal, staff recommend that Section 4.7 and 4.8 be amended respectfully by replacing the term medical marijuana with just cannabis operation so that we no longer differentiate between the two. And the attached zoning bylaw amendment, which would also rezone the subject property, also includes language to amend those 2 sections. So the subject property was previously used as an electric motor repair facility. That's the proponents are proposing to use the existing building for the production facility, and all production must take place inside the building, and the building and the uses within the building are required to comply with all provincial and federal regulations. As noted previously in this report, Section 4.8 provides an opportunity for council to consider rezoning applications for the proposed use. With respect to the official community plan, a diverse economy is a cornerstone of a sustainable, resilient community, as identified in our OCP, and the development of this property as a production facility allows for a new business to establish and provides a new employment opportunity in our community. A public hearing was held on June 17, 2019. No members of the public spoke, and no correspondence was received in relation to the rezoning. The applicant for the proposed business spoke and informed council of the business's need to comply with all provincial and federal regulations. You'll recall she talked to us about a couple different items. Staff had no concerns with the proposed use of this property and therefore recommending support. With respect to the community had opportunity to comment on cannabis grow operations in 2016 when medical marijuana operations were added as a discretionary use to the zoning bylaw with site-specific zoning in the M1 zone. And then a public hearing was also held in respect of this particular rezoning proposal. Organizationally, a development permit for form and character will be required if changes are made to the exterior of the building. No impacts to the budget are associated with this report. Now, should this proposal receive 3rd reading, the item will be placed on a future agenda for final adoption of the amending bylaw, and that would likely be our very next council meeting, as there are no conditions that need to be met between the 3rd and 4th reading. Sustainability, the town's policy for economic sustainability includes encouraging a variety of businesses and production facilities to locate in our community. So options before council today are option number 1, council grants 3rd reading to his proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.120. Option 2, council rejects the zoning bylaw amendment. Option 3, council requests additional information before proceeding. Or Option 4, council recommends any other action deemed appropriate at this time. And of course, staff are recommending Option 1 as previously mentioned. Thank you, Mayor McCordoff.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess the question is, if this was moved forward on the ventilation, is that governed by the province, or does the town have any input?
That is governed through the provincial federal regulations, and they're quite stringent, far more stringent than ours would likely be at this point.
So they comply with the provincial, and then if we get a bunch of complaints for the neighbors, can we act on it as a town, or no?
Well, we could, but I suspect once they've complied, I don't think we'll be hearing anything from the neighbors.
Oh, I think you will, but we have one up there now that's just...
That's non-compliant
Yeah,
with the current new standards.
yeah, okay.
So is there anybody who would like? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCarthy. I'll move staff recommended option number 1.
Thank you, Sir Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Anyone else like to speak to this? Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Yeah, I'm very supportive of this. I think it's a good application. As before, I have the same concerns about the air quality coming out of there, but I'm also very confident that it'll be looked after by the provincial regulations and that type of thing. You know, it is an industrial area. There's lots of odd odors that come out of all the buildings up there, and I think this one will be just fine at the end of the day. So.
Okay, anybody else? So we're going to vote on this. It's been moved and seconded that we go with option number 1. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. Next is the official community plan amendment bylaw, Desert Lagoons. Ms. McKay.
Thank you very much. So interestingly enough, the owner is no longer Desert Lagoons, as the applicant has now purchased the property. So that's good news. So in respect of this particular proposal, this is for 9110 and 9120 Main Street. The applicant, again, is proposing to develop these 2 vacant lands with a multifamily townhome development. It's proposed that up to 28 of the townhomes will have the potential of basement suites, and I've attached a site plan. And it's also anticipated that these suites will provide much-needed market rental housing for local businesses. The suites will also provide for mortgage helpers, and each suite will have to have its own designated parking spot. And we can talk about the lot layout in a minute, because it's changed a little bit, which is personally a much better layout, I think. So with respect to the official community plan, the current proposal, if approved, would see these properties return to their previous designation of high-density residential. The HR designation is consistent with properties to the north and south. In accordance with the plan's residential OCP policies, we seek to accommodate a range of densities throughout our town. Higher density developments are encouraged to locate close to the town center and within walking distance of daily needs, that sort of things like groceries, medical, dental offices, etc. Proposed rental suites are in line with the town's policy encouraging affordable rental units to be located within walking distance of the town's amenities, including public transportation and public schools. With respect to the zoning bylaw, proposed zoning of the high-density residential allows for a maximum of 75 units per hectare. So the new proposed layout includes 54-unit townhome development in addition to 28, which is the maximum number of rental suites, and that's well within the maximum density permitted for this site of approximately 2.3 hectares. So they're actually permitted to have a total density of over 150 units. Access is going to be primarily through Vedette Drive. Vedette Drive also requires full reconstruction for this purpose. Attachment 4 demonstrates the proposed improvements to Vedette Drive. We've done an overlay over an aerial photo. The developer has contributed $200,000 towards these improvements. So when I say they've actually cash in hand provided that, which was a requirement of the rezoning. A future pedestrian trail is proposed along the edge of Peanut Pond. The trail will only be open to the public at the time that the mobile home park is redeveloped. You'll recall that we had quite a discussion about that. Mm-hmm. And just to reaffirm, there are no plans to redevelop the mobile home park at this time.
Right.
The developer has also configured the proposed layout within the strata development, has reconfigured, pardon me. The new layout allows for an overall increase in density and an increase in the potential number of suites, which I'm quite pleased about. Staff have recommended approval of this proposed amendment to the OCP and zoning bylaw, and it will return the lands to the previous zoning and enable a new townhome development in our community. The development will take advantage of its prime location within walking distance to Lakeview Plaza, Gateway Plaza, the downtown, and public transit. So with respect to the community, the developer held a public information meeting on November 29th of last year, and also neighboring properties were notified of this meeting. Subsequently, we held a public hearing on December 17th, following which Council gave a third reading to the amending bylaws. Organizationally, a development permit for form and character is required. Details regarding the trail and the landscaping will be addressed as part of the development permit process. Budget. The proposal has no immediate impacts to the budget. However, the town's portion of the improvements for Vet Drive will be discussed in a future report to Council. So it is on our list of roads that needed improvement. It's just that we're bringing it forward, doing it sooner rather than later. So significant dates, the applicant is currently preparing the information required for the development permit. Town policy for residential growth and development includes encouraging higher density developments to locate close to the downtown area. So the options before Council today are number one in two parts. Council resolves to adopt official community plan amendment bylaw number 1230.21, and B, Council resolves to adopt the following zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.108. Option 2, Council defers final adoption of the amending bylaws until a later date, or Option 3, that the bylaw be abandoned, and staff are recommending option number 1. So I've also included, you'll just point out for you, this amended site plan includes a ring road, which was something we were looking for previously, and there was some conversation about this at our meeting. So we've improved that, and also demonstrates the phasing for the proposal. And I just wanted to also recognize that they've really done a lot of work on this to bring it to this stage. Thank you, Mayor McCordup.
Thank you very much. And I see that you've also included a road that gets onto Main Street. Now, can you explain? That is just for?
So it's for emergency vehicles only, and so what we've done is we've actually included grasscrete on that. Instead of it looking like it's pavement, it'll be that grasscrete where the grass can go through it, and then it will not be gated because we don't want it to look like it's big fortress or anything.
Yes.
But it will have some of those no posts that could be removable or drive over, something that is suitable to the emergency service vehicles or the fire trucks.
An option
But
to get in.
one of the things now, of course, with the ring road is that's less of a necessity, but we're still going ahead with that. And the reason I say it's less of a necessity is that you can drive into the establishment and go around either direction.
Yes.
If it was for service vehicles. Thank you.
And one other, you've said that the developer has reconfigured the proposed layout, and there's an overall increase.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
So they managed
quite a large increase, or
went from 47 to 54, so it's 7
Okay.
more units.
so just with the new configuration
That's
of
correct.
the road that allowed that to happen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And the other question, and I'm hoping I'm not taking everybody's questions, Valiant Lane. How does Valiant Lane factor into this?
It does not at this time.
Okay.
So in conversations also with the owners of the not the Red Apple, what's it called? Not Gateway, Lakeview Plaza.
Yes.
They're just going to wait to see how things transpire over time with respect to traffic and whatnot, and then we're going to readdress it. But they recognize that, they want to work with the community.
Good. Thank you. So, did you have a question? Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor McCordup. I actually have several.
Okay. Go ahead.
This drawing that we've got, how close is it to detailed drawings and renderings and like a full development plan with fees paid? Like, we're not there yet, if I understand correctly. It seems to me, I don't really feel I have a good grasp of what this is going to look like. And some concerns such as it's quite a drop from the sidewalk or from the highway in the middle of the lot. Is the view going to be rooftops? things of that nature. Those are the kinds of, and I'm not expecting you to answer them because we don't have the 3D renderings or
Right,
anything
and
of
that would
nature
become
yet.
as part of the development permit process, not as part of the land use question.
I understand that, but nonetheless, I'm going to speak in favor of delaying until we have that in place to do the land use question, so that for a couple of reasons in my mind. One, we can be certain that it's a 54-unit development under this high-density rezoning. And the reason I bring that up is because I had a conversation with a councillor from Lakeview at Silga or a previous meeting where a high-density land rezoning was approved for a given number of units. The developer never finished it. Everything expired, and they came in with a higher density, which was permitted, and the townspeople were quite upset because of that change, which is permitted, but we just want to understand that it's not going to be, that's not going to happen. That is, we're not going to have a 200-unit development because it's permitted now, and all of that traffic is going to go with the debt because we don't have highway access. So, in my view, we should defer fourth reading and approval until we have that full package. I realize we're not signing off on the package, but it's very informative to this decision. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wanted to? Councillor Rhodes?
I have two things resulting from the public hearing that we have, and this will be the third time, and I apologize in advance. I still have serious concerns about the dumping of traffic onto Valiant and Vedette in that area in there. That is a high-density area already that's in existence. I know at one time there was going to be some significant development down through Vedette on the drive to try to isolate, I think it's a strata, I think would be the correct word to use, and I haven't heard anything about that yet. The other thing that I'm really troubled with and somewhat supportive of a delay, and I know the two are not related, it all comes through in the development process and that kind of thing, but I need to know how that lake, so I'm going to call it a lake, well, I was called it a pond in the past for some reason, but now I notice it's called Peanut Lake. How is that development going to protect that very, very environmentally sensitive area down there? And I'm not talking about, collecting stormwater. Those are the easiest things. I'm talking about the residents when they live there and somebody's changing their vehicle oil in the driveway, how that's going to stop from leaching into the lake and that kind of thing. And, I always hate to hold these development things up because they are important, and I've always been very supportive of them. But each one has its own uniqueness, and I'm very, very concerned about that. And we really haven't heard anything how that's going to be protected. Right. Stormwater will carry materials from that development into the pond, the lake, and we need some way to mitigate and protect that whole area down there. And these are important things as you're moving through this process. And
thank you, Councillor Rhodes. I appreciate the opportunity to address your concerns. We have a very stringent subdivision control and servicing bylaw that lays out what you can and can't do with any particular development. It has very stringent guidelines that we absolutely enforce when it comes to oil water separators and making sure that the environmental concerns are addressed. Those are the kind of things that are required prior to us moving forward, and they're also required as part of the development permit process. So along with form and character, landscaping, we also look at addressing those environmental concerns. So that's high on our list. We're well aware of it, and so is the developer in this case.
Okay. Anybody else? So, go ahead.
There's discussion in here about a possible trail sometime in the future, maybe not, depending on what happens with the mobile home property to the south. Why would we not have the developer put in green space down there anyway? there's no green space in here, there's no park, and then what echoes to me is Dividend Ridge and the scramble to try and find park space now because there's families moving in there, not retirees. This looks like it's going to be 100% full of families.
So, in answer to that question, there is actual a pool and other recreation space provided in the area, and they have full area along the waterfront. Actually, they're going to build the trail now. It just won't be open to the public. And so it will provide recreation opportunity for the people within the development. It just won't be open to the public until we can make the connection down to down behind to our community. Until the mobile home park is developed.
So who owns, what kind of setback is there? Like who owns that up to the high water mark? Is it the
The development owns it. It's going to be part of their development.
Is there a security for that trail, or
no? There's an easement across it for public access. That's correct, which is also registered as part of the development proposal.
Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I'm wondering if you could just comment on the Vedette Drive improvements that were...
Yeah.
Right, sure. So as I pointed out earlier, the estimated cost for the Vedette Drive improvements is $400,000, which the town would have been responsible for if this development proposal were not to move forward. The developer has provided $200,000 towards that improvements. I know that it looks like it's going through a strata development, but that is dedicated road that was always going to provide access to those lands that we're discussing today. So, you know, that this was just a matter of time before a development came forward, whether this one or the previously approved one, which would have actually dumped a lot more traffic onto here. I know we keep talking about that it had access to the highway previously, but as I've been assured by the Ministry of Transportation during discussions about this proposal, that was only going to be a temporary access until the mobile home park, redeveloped, and then that highway access was to be closed off. So it was only to provide temporary access, and I'm not sure the residential units off the top of my head, but it was well in excess of 400 units that would have been traveling through Vedette Drive, in addition to the commercial uses. So I feel that this is a significant reduction in the impact to the residents on Vedette.
Is there going to be a sidewalk?
Yes, there will be a sidewalk. It's
on one side?
It's hard to see, but it's actually on the side, I guess you'd call it the highway side.
Okay.
Of Vedette Drive. It's the side on the left side.
Right.
The west side.
Well, that makes sense, because when I'm looking at the development on the right-hand side, those they all have parking places, and they would back out onto the road. So, yeah, it would be a concern, wouldn't it? Yeah, on that side. Okay. So the other side has far less.
That's correct.
Accesses. Okay. So, do we have a motion yet? I don't think, Mrs. Hilson, do we have a motion on this? No. Would somebody like to make a motion on this? Councillor Rhodes.
Okay, I'll move option number 1A. Or do you want them both at the same time? Or?
It's 1A
and separately?
Yeah, because it is an OCP amendment, so we'd like to do it first.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor King, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this before we vote on it?
Here, can I have a question?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The houses or townhouses along the main street, are they above or the road, or are they going to be below the road?
The houses, the
Like
new
the blue ones
townhome
along the
development,
main
sorry,
street.
Councillor King?
Pardon?
The new ones?
Yeah, if this goes...
They will be
split.
predominantly below the road.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Can I ask, would they be the ones that would be built first, or do we have any say on that if it was the whole thing was?
So that's something that myself as the approving officer would look at, but the phasing plan is actually provided for you in the new lot layout. It's difficult to see, but the phase one would be at the northeast corner, so just off Vedette Drive. That includes the phase one is the ones against the pond, and then the pool, right? And
Sorry,
then,
I didn't catch it. It's written in
so
red, but I couldn't see
so
that. Yeah,
these
okay.
ones here would be the first, and then phase one includes this square. Phase two,
Yep.
so
I
that
see it
right
now.
away they'll be able to offer products from all of one of each of the different styles of townhomes.
Good, thank you. Okay, so we're voting on option 1A. All in favor? Against? Thank you. That's carried. That was the official community plan amendment.
That's correct.
Yeah, is there someone who'd like to make a motion based on option 1B? Sorry?
He objected, we all passed.
What? Yes. It was 4-1, that one. Yeah, thank you. Is there anybody who'd like to make a option? Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll move option 1B.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bennett? Thank you. All in favor of that motion, 1B? Against? Thank you. And that's all we need for this one. Thank you very much. And we know that it may take a while, or do we have any?
Well, if I may say, it's rare that you see a developer hand you $200,000 if they're
Yep.
not planning to move ahead and quite swiftly. They've already been in discussions with myself about the types of townhomes. I assure you it will be a development that we will be proud to have in our community.
Good. And you will be bringing that back at some
I most
future-
certainly will.
Okay, thank you very
Got
much.
to sign up already? Yeah.
All right, so we're on to the glasses on here. The
Electric
next,
vehicle.
and this would be the electric vehicle charging stations on 74th. And is that Mr. MacArthur? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Soyuz is located at the crossroads of Highway 3 and 97, it has been identified as a key link in the chain of electric vehicle charging stations within the province. With federal and provincial rebates being implemented recently, electric vehicles are increasingly becoming a viable option for personal vehicle ownership. Tesla approached the town staff to identify a location within the community to install 8 of their new supercharger stations. The municipal parking lot at 74th and, that should say, 87th Street was identified as an ideal location, as it is currently underutilized, sufficiently large enough to accommodate the stations, and within walking distance of Main Street, providing an opportunity for travelers to visit shops and restaurants while charging their vehicles. In addition to the 8 Tesla supercharger stations, Tesla has agreed to install 4 universal chargers at that site and an additional 4 universal chargers at another site yet to be determined in downtown at their cost to enable owners of non-Tesla electric vehicles to also charge their vehicles. The universal charging stations will have a similar charge time as the existing universal stations down at Gyro Park, which take between 2 and 6 hours. They're known as level 2 chargers. All construction and maintenance costs associated with the project will be paid by Tesla. So in regards to policy, the official community plan outlines policies around air quality. So clean air is identified as a feature of an environmentally sustainable Soyuz in the OCP. A move away from fossil fuel-powered vehicles will aid in this objective, of course. The Town Centre Renewal Plan, one of the strategies outlined in the Town Centre Renewal Plan is to strengthen downtown businesses. Locating electric vehicle charging stations in downtown could result in more customers for downtown businesses, as electric vehicle owners will have between 30 minutes to up to 2 hours while they charge their vehicle to walk around the downtown area. The CAREP report, the Climate Action Revenue Incentive Program, as a member of the Climate Action Revenue Incentive Program, the town reports to the province on climate actions taken within the community each year. The town will be able to report on the installation of these new additional electric vehicle stations in the 2019 report. So for next steps, with Council's approval, Tesla will begin site surveying in July, followed by installation of the charging stations later in the summer or early fall. So rationale, by entering into an agreement with Tesla, the town will be able to provide additional electric vehicle stations for residents and visitors. The partnership will aid in the environmental sustainability of the region and potentially provide additional economic stimulus for downtown businesses. Implications for the community: electric vehicle use will aid in ensuring clean air within the community and region. Organizational: staff will be required to liaise with Tesla during the construction phase. Budget: there's no cost to the budget with this report. No significant dates at this time. And sustainability: electric vehicle charging stations will aid in the town's environmental and economic sustainability. So for options, one, that council direct the CAO to enter the town into an agreement with Tesla to install and maintain electric vehicle charging stations at 8513 74th Avenue at the corner of 87th. And number two, that council requests additional information before proceeding further, and staff recommend option one.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Yeah, question, Madam Mayor. These superchargers, how fast do they charge?
Yeah, the Tesla maintains that their new chargers will take about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. And about how many parking stalls are in that lot to start with?
There's 12 parking spaces, so the way that they've proposed right now is that 4 would be dedicated for Tesla. Additional 4 would have Tesla chargers, but would be open to the public to park there as well for a time-limited period, so we can negotiate that during the contract phase. And the final 4 spaces would have the universal chargers. So all 12 spaces would have chargers, but the public would be able to use 8 of them.
So no one else could park there if there's only 12 spaces total and they're all going to have electric chargers? No car could park there?
No, eight of the spaces could be open to anyone who wants to park in them.
Oh, so
It would only be 4 that would be dedicated to Tesla.
Oh, okay, and that would be signed, I guess.
They would be signed, yeah. And I should mention now that that parking lot is very underutilized. There's usually 2 or 3 cars there.
The dominant charge and taking the whole parking lot, it sounds like.
No, it's only 4 spaces.
Yeah, 4 would be dedicated by Tesla.
Yeah, but you'll have signs on 12 spots.
Yeah.
No, signs on 8 spots.
Signs on 8 that would say that it was available for parking for anyone.
Oh, that's cool. In reverse of what I just said. Anyhow, he's taking all 12 spots. Theoretically, with open.
No, there's 8 spots. 4 spots would be at another location.
No, this says 8 spots, and then an added 4 is 12, and then 4 at another location, the way this reads.
No.
Okay, so to clarify, there are, in that parking lot, 12 spaces.
Yes.
So Tesla would have 8 chargers.
Yes.
4 of those chargers would be dedicated to Tesla-only spots, so only 4 are dedicated for Tesla.
Yep.
The other 4 that have Tesla chargers could be parked in by anyone, and there will be signs that state that.
Yep.
Then the remaining 4 spots would have universal chargers,
Yes.
and again have signage that say that anyone
Yes.
can park there. You don't have to have an electric vehicle. You can park there regardless. So the idea is that it's a multi-use parking
I
lot
respect what you're saying.
in
It's just
that
the
way.
last 4 won't have a Tesla sign on them?
Yeah, so the last 4 will not have a
Okay.
Tesla sign. It will have a town sign that
Okay,
says that
that's
it's
what I
open to
wanted
the
to hear.
public and
Okay.
it's universal chargers.
Thank you.
And then to point out for the additional 4 spots, you're correct that there will be another 4 chargers at another location to be negotiated. So that hasn't been determined yet. So there will be they're willing to pay for 8 of the level 2 chargers, universal chargers, in order to have 8 of their chargers installed. So.
I had a question when I was reading this as well, that when I am down at Gyro, there are 2 spots down there. I do not park at any time in either one of those spots. Is that correct? I should not be parking in there at Gyro? Am I correct in that? I mean, I haven't.
I believe the sign says if you're not charging, you only can stay there for 30 minutes.
That's correct.
Oh, 30 minutes, okay. So I don't park there at all. So I have parked over here quite often because when I come to, Market on Main, I quite often park over there. So that was my kind of concern as well. And I'm concerned that if I have an ordinary car that's not an electric one, I can still park, but just not in one of the 4 Tesla ones. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's
yes.
going to take a little bit of education and getting used to, I think, for this.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we have had some discussions internally with staff around the signage and what the signage
Okay.
to say, including the signs that exist at Gyro Park to make it more clear.
I think that's a good idea, because I think it can be confusing. Now, I apologize. Councillor Rhodes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
And the time limit as well, yeah.
Yeah. So, Councillor Rhodes?
11 years ago, there was an abandoned house in that property. It had been there for quite a while. It caught fire. The town bought it shortly afterwards, put this special asphalt in there that drains water through it. Everybody expected it's a wonderful thing in our community. That parking lot must have the nuclear holocaust button in it because nobody uses it, ever. Quite often we see illegal parking in there, truck campers and people that use it for free and that type of thing, but really the public is not engaged in that. So I'm very supportive of doing this project there simply because, you know, it's a valuable piece of property. It's in our downtown area. The intended use of that property has never been brought to fruition in our community in any way, shape, or form. So I'm hoping that this really works and encourages people to park in there. That was a long rambling thing. I didn't really mean to digress like that. Who pays for the power?
Yes, so all services would be paid by Tesla.
Including the Fortis power that would
Yes,
be required?
Right. So all of the servicing and that would be Tesla. They're already talking to Fortis about it, and they have to do site surveying. So with council's approval of the proposal, then they would bring in their crews to see how they could make it work with all of their transformer equipment, et cetera.
Because if there's a heavy usage of those charging stations, like we hope it will be, that could transfer.
No, I think the question is the user fees for the power, because don't users pay X number of dollars through a credit card system that?
Okay, I was not
The
aware of
one
that.
through
Yes.
Gyro,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, but the servicing of the site will be done by Tesla. The user fee, in fact, will be paid by the user through a credit card system.
Okay.
And I think they charge something like $9 for, somebody was telling me a full charge is about $9.
Okay.
And that money goes to Tesla?
Probably just covers
It probably just goes to I don't know what kind of arrangements Tesla or Fortis will have
Yeah, they can have a partnership.
relative to the use.
Okay, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one question, Don. When this first came around, I had a guy come up to me with an electric car, and he stated there was Tesla, and then there's a couple other companies that do the charging systems as well. Is there a difference between them? Is this our best bet, or is there other people that are competing to try to get those spots?
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, there are different technologies for the different vehicles. Tesla chargers are unique in that Tesla vehicles require the Tesla chargers. The universal charger stations will be able to be used by a number of different types of vehicles. So by having both, we're able to provide the option for drivers regardless of their vehicles. But yeah, they do have different technologies and how they connect to the stations. So
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report notes an additional 4 universal chargers at another site in downtown. Any indications as to where, or any thoughts in planning department as to where those might go?
I'll leave that one to the director.
We always have such great ideas, but we actually spoke with our CEO about this as well, and we think one of the sites might be the new museum parking lot, so across the street, and that might bring sort of people to the museum, and a great way to get people to visit our new museum in the future. So we're kind of reserving where those might go. Also, as you know, we have an official community plan process we're about to embark on. I'm sure that conversation will come up because it always does.
I'd just like to add that that I am on a member of the Highway 3 Coalition, Mayors and Chairs, that goes from Hope to the Alberta border. It has, over the last couple of years, there has been a big push we were at one point going to call it the electric highway. We've now changed a little bit. But in order to try and increase tourist use along the Highway 3, the Crow's Nest Pass, rather than having everybody speed up Highway 1. One of the things that's been a big push from our group is to have electric vehicle stations so that people can meander through and know that they can charge their car as they go. I would like to point out that several people have said to me, why don't you change the electric vehicle stations down at Gyro into shorter, more efficient usage? And I say, why would we do that? We want people to park in there, to visit our community, to have a meal, and then pick up their car. So I realize that that's not the answer that they wanted, but there is also a new electric vehicle station at the top of Anarchist at the pullout there, just so that you know. So Ministry of Highways put that one in, and there are several now, many between Hope and the Alberta border. So I am definitely in favor of increasing the usage. And we have several already, in hotels and in wineries. So this will just add to the pool that we have. Thank you. So is there anyone else who wanted to...
Just a comment?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, Mr. Emenko.
Yes, and in addition to this, just for information, and it was information to me that I just read in the newspaper or in a clipping someplace, that apparently Fortis has just announced 12 more electric charging sites in the province, and Osoyoos was noted as one of the locations, and to my knowledge, we don't...
Right.
Or we do?
You know about it?
Yeah,
okay.
Fortis BC called this morning. And,
okay.
Wow, very
so the charging station that they've allocated for Soyuz will actually be at the Petrocan at OIB.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes.
I'll move option 1.
Thank you. That good. Councillor King. And did you want to speak to it? No problem.
Just one comment. I hope this goes viral all over the face of the world. Hoping that this is a statement to electric car manufacturers. Work really hard to keep the cost of them things down so that people can actually afford to buy them and use all of these stations that we're putting in our communities.
Good. Okay, are we ready to vote on this then? All in favor of option 1? Thank you. That's carried. Next is the Resort Municipality Initiative, and Mr. MacArthur.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. Earlier in the year, I brought the first draft of the report to you, and then we forwarded it to the province. So. Just as an overview, as a designated resort municipality, the town of Osoyoos has developed amenities and implemented activities with Resort Municipality Initiative funds, which have improved the visitor experience for tourists and improved amenities for residents. To receive RMI funding from the province for the 2019 to 2021 fiscal years, the town must prepare a resort development strategy. To aid in the creation of a strategy, an online survey was conducted in January, and a stakeholder workshop was held in February. Input received through these processes was used to develop objectives, create project categories, and allocate funding. The draft strategy was presented at the Committee of the Whole meeting on March 18th, 2019. At the meeting, Council directed staff to forward the strategy to the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture for review. Feedback from the province was then incorporated into the revised strategy, which is appended to this report as Attachment 1. Next steps, if Council accepts this revised strategy, it will be forwarded back to the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and once the Ministry receives the strategy, RMI funding can then be received by the town. Rationale for recommendation: by participating in the Resort Municipality Initiative, the town is able to receive provincial funds to develop and improve infrastructure and programs for residents and visitors. Implications to the community: improved infrastructure and programs aid in making the community a wonderful place to live and visit. Organizational: staff will be required to submit the resolution from the council meeting to the province. Budget: there are no costs associated with the report, no significant dates at this time. And sustainability: a vibrant community will aid in the town's economic sustainability. So for options, 1, that council accepts the strategy as information to guide the Resort Municipality Initiative projects, and 2, that council requests additional information before proceeding further, and staff recommend option 1.
Thank you very much. I had one question here. This is a strategy that goes from 2019 to 2021. Does this need to be updated and applied for yearly, or does this cover that period of time?
It covers the 3-year period now, but we do have to do reporting. So we have annual
Yearly?
reports, and Barry can...
Yeah, we still have to do annual reports to the province on what our expenditures are. The plan basically covers the commitment the province has made for RMI funding for 3 years.
Okay. So I'd just like to add something here. Last week, we had most of the caucus here from the NDP government in Victoria, and I did have a couple of meetings with Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Lisa Baer. As you recall, she was here in the fall, and the CAO and I took her around to show her some of the things that the RMI funding had purchased. But it was kind of dark, and it was November, so Asuyas was not looking its best. She was here this week, or last week. She stayed at Watermark, thoroughly enjoyed the gyro park because she could see it in all its glory. And the other thing, the main reason she was here was to look at arts and culture of the area. She was extremely impressed with not only what we had done for tourism, but also the number of artists, woodworkers, quilters, painters, potters, the whole gamut of people in this town who are involved with the arts. She was quite amazed at how many people there were that took part in things, and she loves coming to Asuyas. So I think that she's very pro looking at things for tourism, arts, and culture. So I just thought I would throw that in there. Is there anybody who would like to make a motion on this issue, please? Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I'd move that we accept the report.
So option 1. Okay. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rhodes. Anybody need to speak to this? All in favor? Thank you very much, Mr. MacArthur, for getting this organized, and for Mr. Emanko for getting the yearly reports in. I know they take quite a bit of time. Next, we have the pool feasibility study grant application. Mr. Emanko.
Thank you. In 2017, an initiative was started to develop a regional pool in partnership with Oliver and the Regional District Areas A and C and the Asuyas Indian Band. This initiative is being restarted, with the first major step being the development of a feasibility study. The town of Oliver is making a grant application to the BC Rural Dividend Fund in the amount of $100,000 to assist with funding the pool feasibility study. This grant application needs a letter of support from the partners. Council provided a similar letter in 2018. In terms of implications, the community will benefit from a feasibility study which will assist in community decision-making related to development of a regional pool. No organizational impacts. In terms of budget, $40,000 has been identified in the 2019 budget to provide a serious contribution in the event funds are needed. Receiving this type of grant will probably decrease the amount of actual partner contribution that is needed. There is a 25% match on the grant application. Significant dates: application must be submitted prior to August 19th. In terms of options, Council provides a resolution with the following information. The council supports the town of Oliver making a grant application in the amount of $100,000 to the BC Rural Dividend Fund, fourth intake capacity building category for the development of a multi-community indoor pool feasibility study. And the second option is the council denies support for the town of Oliver Rural Dividend Grant application.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bennett?
I'd recommend option 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Harvey? I think this is kind of a no-brainer. If we get this, that's a step up, isn't it, on this? All in favor of the option. Thank you very much. That's carried. And next, Mr. Romanko, this would be UBCM ministerial meetings.
Yes, attached is information from the provincial government relating to potential meetings with ministers, and I should also say the Premier during the UBC convention. The information identifies the dates for deadlines for meeting requests. Those dates are as follows. Premier Horgan, July 17th. The Minister of Municipal Affairs, July 17th. All other ministers and provincial staff, August 23rd. At this point in time, it is important to identify the issues which Council would like to discuss with ministers during the UBC convention. Based on previous discussions or issues identified, the following meetings were potential candidates for meeting requests. In terms of municipal affairs, the impacts and future of water councillors and local utility governance, and potential funding for district municipality study. 2, health, availability of mental health services and the South Okanagan General Emergency Operations. Number 3, Solicitor General and Public Safety, additional funding for victim services and the revolving door of repeat offenders causing petty crimes. Also, I was just made aware, apparently there's some discussions about a joint drug officer between Oliver and Osoyoos as well. In terms of transportation, additional funding to enable transit connectivity. And number 5 here, forestry lands and natural resources, regulations relating to milfoil harvest in the Okanagan Valley and specifically Osoyoos Lake. I also mentioned that in terms of potential topics, it's important to determine which, if any, you may want to meet with Oliver jointly, because I think there are some issues of joint concern that have been discussed. In terms of implications, community benefits from council meeting with government ministers to relate community issues, seek funding, or change policy. Organizationally, no impacts other than the reporting that must be put together. No budget impacts. Significant dates: July 17th and August, and the August 23rd application deadline. In terms of options, 1, council identifies topics and directs staff to complete the needed requests by July 17th and August 23rd deadlines. 2, council identifies no meetings for the July 17th deadline and defers other meeting decisions until the August 19th meeting. And 3, council identifies no need to meet with ministers at UBCM in 2019.
Thank you very much. Now, last week I already said that several of the ministers were here. We are quite well known in the town of Osoyoos for when we go to ministerial meetings of taking either a bottle of wine, local wine, or cider. And the Minister of Finance did approach me last week and said that she'd heard that we bring good wine, and she wondered if we could set up a meeting with her. And I said I wasn't quite sure that was necessary. However, it was very nice to know that what we take down as a little gift to them when we go is much appreciated. I think the Minister of Education is expecting us to come back because we do every year. And there were a few others that we chatted with last week. So one of the things was when I was talking to the Mayor of Oliver this morning, and we did discuss the possibility of meeting the Minister of Health, and I think that it would be a good thing for Oliver and Osoyoos to attend that meeting together. Would that make sense, Mr. Manko?
Yeah. Yes.
And I do know that they would like to meet with, I think, Solicitor General, and I think that was, and is that policing too? RCMP, that's, so they were wondering whether we would like to join them on that one. I'm not sure that the issues are exactly the same, so we may not want to.
Well, I think we both have common concerns, my understanding, related to the funding for victim services.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that Oliver probably has, and other policing issues that they may want to discuss. So I don't know, but there was in discussion with the CAO from Oliver, some discussions had occurred relative to a drug enforcement officer.
And was that you were talking to her since
last week?
Last week, because I did get that from the mayor of Oliver as well today, that was something else that they were looking at. So my suggestion was that if we okayed some of these, that you would talk with the CAO and Oliver and see if there was things that we could attend together, which might give us a little more leverage. So, our council, are you in agreement that these are the ministers that we should try and set up meetings with, or is there anyone else that that you see as needed other than the Minister of Finance?
And education, you said.
Pardon me?
And education, you said.
Education, he thought it would be nice because we've gone to see him every year. That was the main reason. We did meet with him over at the school too. But I'm not sure unless we have always gone and had a quick meeting with him because we want to make sure he knows that we're still involved with the education in this area and that it's important for us to keep this school open. So that was our reason.
I think it's important, given the amount of limitations of time, that's exactly it. It's I think the council has struck up a good ongoing relationship, and I think it's important that connection be made relative to just finding where rural education funding is at to ensure that our schools stay open.
Okay, so Councillor Bennett, you're the one who's been going to the education meetings. Would you be in agreement with that?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Mayor. Madam Mayor. I'd also like to see us, if we could, meet with the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Natural Resources. We did meet, about 30 of us. I'll do a report after at Basalt Lake about the ongoing part of the trail. And Oliver was there, Regional District was there, the province was there. And I think that'd be a good time to follow up with them on the further direction, because it was the first time they had 30 of the people all together that where the people that could make some decisions.
Definitely the Regional District directors would be meeting with them. Perhaps we could, and I don't know whether that's the right protocol or not, but perhaps if they get a meeting, we could be included in it. Or you could be included in it if that was, or would you like to have the Suez Council have a separate meeting?
Well, I can follow with Mick and see what their plans are at UBCM.
And I will be at Regional District this week, so I will certainly find out from there which meetings that they have applied for. But quite often, we could piggyback with them.
Because I did get the email requesting if you wanted to meet with the minister, and I did send him a thing saying I wanted to meet with him.
Okay.
First thing when we're down there, and then I got the letter from Barry saying we should do it together as communities, and so I kind of jumped the ship already.
Yes, because individual councillors don't.
No, it has to be.
It's councils that decide who meets which ministers.
So we've got municipal affairs, health, solicitor general, transportation, forestry, education, and Flinrow. Is that too many?
I don't know. I won't be there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, already on there already. That's if you want to meet with them on the milfoil issue.
Right.
Or are you doing that as part of the regional district at all?
I don't think so, but we might be meeting with them from Okanagan Basin Water Board. I don't know. But let's try it. Let's put it on. We can always deal with things. I mean, we want to make sure we get on the list somehow. So
Yep.
I do think we should meet with that, and maybe we could include forestry lands, natural resources, the 2 items, couldn't we?
Sure.
Okay. Would that be all right, Councillor Bennett? Is there anything else that anybody else? So will you, staff will then?
We will make the appropriate reports. The big issue being the July 17th
Yes.
timeframe to meet with the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Okay.
If council, in fact, wants to meet and discuss the, water councillor issue, and
District
there is a very specific program with limited budget for doing impact studies on district municipalities or regional governance. So,
are you, Councillor Rhodes, are you attending this, UBCM? You better. You're going to have to speak on this. So I would think that we should put these ones in.
For something, or?
Pardon me? Yes, you are. You're elected to do that. Yes, go ahead.
Well, to answer your question, no, I was not intending to attend.
You're leaving us to do it then, are you?
And I'll move option number 1, staff recommended option number 1.
And that would be in all including the whole list that we have.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Is there somebody who's seconding that? Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. And next is the cash. So next is the general net payroll, Sunbowl Arena financial statements, and to report on expenditures from accounts payable up until July the 2nd, 2019. General cash requirements of $411,832.11. Sunbowl cash requirements of $3,497.80. And those 2 would be adopted by consensus, and net payroll accounts of $97,711.12, and that's received for information. And so next we have committee reports, and we have the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee report that was held on June the 20th. And I see that Councillor King was there. Is there anything that you'd like to add to this report, Councillor King?
Not really. I'll make a couple of comments in my report.
Okay. I just had a question about it. In matters arising from minutes number the 4th, A, under asthma, it says that somebody recommended that the RUS or the BC Lung Association talk about this issue. I wasn't quite sure what the issue was. It
was around the burning in the fields and the smoke.
Okay. I just want to point out that Lil Rush who is a local resident, has been on the executive of the BC Lung Association for quite a while, so she may be a good person to talk to on that. Is there anyone else that had some information or wanted to comment on the meeting minutes? No? Okay, and would you like us a motion to accept those minutes, please? Councillor King, are you moving that? Councillor Bennett seconding it. All in favor? Thank you. And next we have our CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a few of the activities of the administration and some planned ones here for the next couple of weeks. Starting first in community services, the Cactus Kids Day Camp staff have been hired and camp is open, so summer is officially underway. The first Family Splash event will be on July 17th, and the Sunbowl Arena is scheduled to open on July 15th with the West Coast All-Stars Camp. The Sonora Gymnasium has been painted and a new rooftop unit has been installed in the weight room. In terms of corporate services, work continues with on emergency services. The director attended the emergency program coordinators meeting at the regional district, talking about various issues of emergency preparedness. The director met with the RCMP and Victim Services Program Manager with the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General to discuss victim services funding and policing in Asturias. A preliminary planning meeting was held for the evacuation route plan on June 25th. The meeting was held in two parts. First was a stakeholders meeting with government agencies, and the second was a public meeting. In terms of to provide input, in terms of finances, taxes are coming in, and today is the last day to pay without penalty, and you have another hour to make payment at the front counter. In terms of planning and development, several inquiries for the provincial nominee program as a result of our application form and community details being posted on the provincial nominee program website. Staff are continuing to work with applicants on the Peanut Pond development permit requirements, and they continue to work with the owners on a parcel at Lobelia on the protection strategies for the pond shoreline. Many activities going on in public works, many of them very just operational in nature, keeping our water and sewer systems operating. Also in terms of many landscaping issues, including over at the fire hall, and my compliments to the work that Helen Payne did over there. It's just, she did a phenomenal job. There's a big job with all that planting, and she worked very hard on it to make it look good. Certainly a lot of time was spent in terms of preparation for the Cherry Fiesta, and in terms of capital projects, our washroom building for Soyuz Park has been sent to production with a mid-August arrival, and then we'll install that. Unfortunately, we'll miss this year's operational season, but that was hampered by the producer of the unit. The gazebo at the Pioneer Walkway has been refurbished, and that was done by the volunteers. So a special thank you to the volunteers of the Pioneer Walkway for the work that they've done out there. In terms of fleet, a little bit of bad news. Our beach cleaner is out of service with a possible return to service next week with limited function. So we were trying to get that unit to make it through this season, and it looks like we may or may not be able to, but if we are able to get it back on, certainly we'll be focused on our gyro beach to keep it looking good. And also our crane truck was out of service and had many things to do with getting ready for the Cherry Fiesta. In terms of myself, we're continuing with the recruitment process for the Director of Operations with interviews targeted for July 9th and 10th. We planted a commemorative tree in front of the planning offices, signifying 100 years of Local Government Management Association professional managers working with councils in local government in BC, and also working on the 2020 budgeting process. And that's my report for today.
Thank you. Could we have a motion, please, to accept the CAO report? Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor King, all in favor. Okay, now to council reports. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a pretty exciting couple of weeks with all the politicians in town announcing different things, but attended a couple that I think were great. It was a ribbon cutting at the elementary school in the natural play park. I mean, it's so well used, it's just, you can't speak for itself. Also attended the Osoyoos Child Care Center expansion. That was $900,000 coming to the table to expand, which would mean more families. Hopefully they'll move here. They have a place for the children while they're working, so that's an exciting thing. Also attended BC Parks announcement about a new trail joining the town together on their walkways between Lakeshore Drive and Cottonwood Drive. Grad night, that was great to see the 36 graduate students here and the different post-secondary places they're going. We do have some great talent in this town, and hopefully they'll get well educated and maybe come back to town and do some great things. Talking about the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee that I sit on, there's a couple of things that was kind of popped out, and the committee might actually come in front of council to ask if there would be an opportunity to put a fishing dock somewhere on the lake for people with disabilities, and around that you could actually create an event and bring more people to town. And another thing that was looked at was the surface under the new swing that was put at Kinsman Park as wood chips that actually passes as accessible, yet it's very hard for a mom to push a person in a wheelchair over these wood chips to actually put them in the swing. So they're going to look at possibly maybe bringing some partners to the table to see if it would be no cost to the town, but obviously they'd have to come to the town to see if you'd allow us to do that. So those are a couple of things that I think might come forward here to council. Another thing, yesterday, enough can't say enough about Canada Day with the breakfast in the morning, the entertainment all night, and then with the fireworks. A big kudos has to definitely go out to the Cherry Festival Committee for the time and effort they put in. And I really got to thank the mayor. I mean, she starts at 6 in the morning, goes to 11 o'clock at night. No overtime in 18, 19 hours yesterday. Kudos to our Mayor Sue. Thank you very much. And then I'll leave the last announcement. I did go to an announcement this morning about the National Park, but I'll let our Mayor say a few more words about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Probably like Jim, quite a few on here. June 18th, Destination Soyuz Board meeting. I think the big thing there is a lot of the resorts and hotels are finding that August is pretty down. Their June and July are up, and September and October are up, so they're quite happy. But a lot of it they feel is probably because of the fires previous. And they're going to take in Blitz Vancouver, although we think a lot of the tourists are from Alberta. Their main market is Vancouver. They're going to Blitz try to pull it for August, but they're just hoping that if there is no fires, it'll just be a really good month for them. Also, it was kind of interesting because with the new resort up in Inconneet, this summer they're at 46% American tourists. So they're bringing the American tourists. June 20th, met with the primary care network, and that's pretty well wrapping up. One of the results from their study is there's over 3,000 people that are unattached that don't have doctors in the area. So they're putting it together. It's going to change from advisory committee to actual board, and the program will be initiated under the senior executive team. Then June 24th, met with Doug Donaldson, the Minister of Forest Lands, at Vassal Lake regarding the trails, which I just spoke on a couple minutes ago. June 25th, with Jim at Soyuz Child Care, the BC Parks School District meeting at 7. Basically, they talked because it was the last day. It was kind of like getting out of school. I got the summer off. But this kindergarten was quite exciting because the pre-registration, there's been a 35 to 55 increase in enrollment for kindergarten in the Soyuz area, and Oliver's actually down. So that was a good thing. 9 sports staff retired, 3 teachers. June 26th, we went to the meeting for the SOGH heat alert, and Gina was there with me as well, and she's going to invite them to come do a report to council, because we felt it was something that you guys should see the whole report. Okay. And there's a big concern because there's in 2013 to 2017, Ashcroft had 18 deaths, Soyuz had 16, Kamloops had 13 heat-related deaths, so it is a concern. But so we'll be doing more on that. Then June 27th was the OSS grad, and of course yesterday was July 1st, passing out the cake, and I felt like when you guys cut that cake, well, I felt like it was in the amp pile. You were just like, whoa, and it was gone. It's like,
yes, it was
gone.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Harvey.
I had a great vacation.
Good. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Well, I'm going to let you use most of my time, but over the last couple of weeks, been a lot of things going on in our community. The one thing I really wanted to pick out of everything that's been going on was the last day of school at our elementary school. We were able to attend that, and I got to tell you, it's been a lot of years that I've actually even been in a school, so things have changed a little bit over the years. It was just an incredible experience for me to sit there and watch everything that was going on in that whole process that afternoon. Felt so good. Everybody stood up at the end of it. We all wandered down to the hillside right above the park that Councillor King referred to a few minutes ago. And, the politicians from the province, from the NDP government were there. Great experience. The following day we went down and had that kind of a press conference thing down at Goodman Park and took a little bit more money out of there. And I just wanted to comment that I've always tried to be non-political when it comes to provincial politics, but every politician who was here handing out the money and enjoying their experience in our community, I couldn't help but pick up on how genuine they were with every aspect of what they did. They all seemed to be happy to be here. Giving out that money was just an incredible experience from them. And even the staff that did all the setup, of all the audio equipment and all that kind of stuff at the various venues that they had, just an incredible, very, very positive experience in our community. And I just can't say enough about that last day of school at our elementary school. That really, really impressed me a lot. So.
Good.
That's my report.
Thank you. Maybe you'll start reading, too, books.
The library
See
card.
That would mean having to go to the library. Yeah.
You probably have a free library card you could use. Okay. Well, I just want to comment on Cherry Fiesta, July 1st, because it was an incredible experience which involves everybody in this town. I just have enormous thanks for the RCMP. There were 7 of them down there last night when, just before the fireworks, I said, is there a problem? They said, no, we're just here to make sure everything works well. And so that was wonderful. The Bylaw people are doing an excellent job. There were 3 of them, I think, down there last night, maybe more. And they closed down the washrooms at 11, which was very nice because we originally thought they were going to be closed at 10. So I certainly appreciate the fact that they stayed around for that. I want to thank our CAO for bringing down the town truck and the lights to turn on after the fireworks. The Suez Festival Society does a phenomenal job of organizing this entire event. There's quite a few people that are involved with this. They spend months getting this all ready, and after 71 years you'd think we would get it correct, because I've been a member for many years. There's always different things that need to be adjusted after this. And I have to say that one more thing about Gyro was that the music in the park, the first concert was on Friday night. It was Cod Gone Wild. There were 680 people there, which is an all-time record. But when we just missed having a fire in the band shell. And I was telling Mr. Romanko about this today. They're up on the lights, which aren't turned on very often. A bird or several birds had built a nest around one of the lights, and when the lights were turned on, this started to ignite, and somebody could smell the smoke. So the lights were turned off quickly. Marcel St. Louis ran home and got a stepladder and a long stick or something, a broom, and climbed up there and knocked down the nest, including the light at the time, because it had to break. And the lights went back on. But if nobody had been there, it would be a horrible thing. So these are volunteers in our community that work to make sure that things go properly. I also have to thank our public works. They do a great job of coming down and bringing us tables and garbage cans and garbage bags and bleachers and all of the things that go with that, and they're very, very helpful. And Frank and his volunteers with the fireworks. I was talking to Frank today. Next year will be his 25th year of doing fireworks, so he's doing a bigger and better show. But the reason that I had to go and talk to him was that I was up at Spirit Ridge today, and I talked to Minister McKenna, who's the federal minister of parks, but also climate change and that kind of thing, and she was in town for the last couple days, and I said to her, "Did you see our fireworks?" And she said, yes, she did. They were pretty amazing. And I said, well, we think they're absolutely the best in BC, but we also think they're better than Ottawa's, and we think they're the best in Canada. And she did say, well, you know, she was very impressed with them. They were longer than the ones in Ottawa. However, that's her constituency, so she had to be very careful about what she said. But she was extremely impressed, and I went right up to Public Works and told Frank. So he was very happy with that. So the helpers, the number of people that, the volunteers that come out and help with every little job. Frank said he needed trailers to load the things on. He got 10 of them from volunteers in the community who brought them down and helped him with that. He had a whole bunch of them up there at Public Works today, and they were cleaning things up. Volunteers in this town are the lifeblood of this community, and we just say a huge thank you to all of them. They do an amazing job, and we're lucky to have them all. So all of the other meetings that we've been at, people have talked about. But the other big issue today is Councillor King and I were up at Spirit Ridge this morning when there was an announcement concerning the National Park Reserve. And the upshot of it, after I think it's 17 or 18 years that this has been talked about, is that they have come up with a memorandum of understanding. The federal government, the provincial government, and the Okanagan Nation Alliance. And many of them spoke today very eloquently about the concerns that they have seen, or if it was something that was easy to deal with, it would have been done 17 years ago, right? So, and they were very positive about making sure that this National Park Reserve moves forward. This is one small step, a memorandum of understanding, but I think that you'll see, and it may take years to get it done, but they feel that this piece of property, and I think they have it outlined now, there's been a certain area, and I'm sorry I don't remember, 245 acres or something like that has been included in this, and they're now moving forward. And I think this is a very positive step. Certainly, Suya's council over the past 10 years anyway has been supportive of a national park in some form. There's been lots of compromise that has gone on with this, and I think that you will see that will continue, and there will be talks continuing, but certainly the Okanagan Nation Alliance, Chief Crow and Chief Louis were there, and many people from the government. So I'm happy that things are being talked about and moving forward. So if you are interested in hearing more about it, I'm sure it will be on the 5 o'clock news global, because Shelby Tom was there today. So there will be lots more that you'll read in all of the papers. And I think that that's all that I had for today. So I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thanks, everybody.